From the Chicago Sun-Times newsroom, I'm Natasha Korecki, and this is Off Message, our weekly political talk show. Joining me this week is the Associated Press political reporter, Sara Burnett, one of our esteemed columnists, Neil Steinberg, and from Springfield, our Springfield bureau chief, Dave McKinney. This week, Dave, you went to a Bruce Rauner event, and there was someone that probably most reporters didn't expect to be in the room. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, Bruce Rauner was here in Springfield on Tuesday night to give a speech to the Sangamon County Republican Foundation. And I got to the event. Rauner is at the front of the room, and I put my phone up to take a picture of him. And in the right corner is Rauner, and then in the left corner is this face that Natasha, you and I are quite familiar with from having watched him on, in federal trial in Chicago, was Bill Cellini. It just occurred to me that this is quite a juxtaposition here.
Illinois families are struggling.
The man who wants to shake up Springfield and run against Springfield insiders is standing just a few feet away from the ultimate Springfield insider and Bill Cellini. After the event, he took some questions. Rauner did.
One of the guests here tonight is Bill Cellini, and he said that he's very impressed with your candidacy. Do you welcome his endorsement?
I don't know. I didn't even know he was here. I don't really know him. I can't comment on that.
We didn't get really a response from Rauner until the next day. By that point, the Quinn campaign was all over this.
And rightly or wrongly, the Quinn campaign was all over this. Neil, is it fair for them to jump on this and say, hey?
Not because Cellini was there. I mean, Rauner can't control who comes to the room, though it was a small group and he should have known. To me, I thought of 4 years ago when Ricky Hendon had an event at a church on the South Side, and Quinn was there, and Hendon lights into Brady and says he's an idiot and homophobic and a racist and all these terrible things. And as soon as the press got to Quinn, Quinn distanced himself from it because he's nimble. To me, what this shows is that Rauner is great at making TV ads and reading a script, but when things he isn't expecting happens, he can't respond in real time. And I think that's something that a governor needs to be able to do.
Well, and also you think about it, too, from the advance work. What should have happened was they make a plate for Bill Cellini, hand it to him and say, go home and have dinner. We don't want you here. And that didn't happen.
This was just the classic example of a new candidate who hasn't done this before, whose default is no comment. The default being no comment is going to start being a problem.
Well, so then Rauner's campaign comes back this week very quickly and says, okay, Quinn, you want to talk about us? We're going to talk about Rod Blagojevich.
They are bringing up quotes from Quinn from 2005 and 2006 in which he was saying that he stood by Blagojevich when there were questions being raised, and so they now are questioning his allegiance to Blagojevich.
I mean, he was.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting about that though, Sarah, is that Quinn is a little bit battle tested on this. I mean, remember in 2010 when he ran against Bill Brady, they were throwing the Blagojevich stuff at him left and right. This thing with Cellini is different. When we heard Cellini on those government tapes, he was conspiring with Stuart Levine. Levine, of course, has indirect ties to Rauner. So, I mean,
how damaging is Bill Cellini to Rauner versus Stuart Levine?
To me, this is more inside baseball. I mean, God bless our interest in politics, but I think the average person, when you say even Levine, Cellini, these different names, I think they're not. It doesn't spark a real deep emotional impact the way problems with unemployment do. I think those are much more. I mean, I would hate to see Quinn hit this too much because there's a lot of reasons not to support Rauner besides William Cellini.
I'm not sure I'm quite buying into this because the guy went to federal prison. He wore the orange jumpsuit. He is a felon. I do think that there's going to be a lasting impact from this.
I think there may be some impact with people, as Neil was saying, who follow this and who are willing to assume the worst about this interaction between these two people. But at the end of the day, it's whether they have a job, and it's Illinois having high unemployment. Pat Quinn's plan to put more money into the schools that I think is going to decide this, not
and he just
who you
showed
ran into
up.
at
I
a
mean,
dinner.
If they were having lunch in a corner at Gene and Giorgetti, then I could say, okay, what's he doing huddling with them?
There's been a lot of complaints about Rauner in general of, not coming out in front of the media as much as he can. But every time he does, it seems like he kind of says something or does something that...
He's an arrogant rich guy, and seriously, he's running, his entire campaign is based on the fact, I'm rich, I made a lot of money, trust me. I just can't believe people are going to buy that because, governing like everything else is a skill. You wouldn't hire a painter if he came to you and said, I've never painted, I haven't been corrupted by the painting process, but now I've made all this money and I want to come paint your living room.
Okay, well, let's shift to quotes of the week. Dave, why don't we start with you out there?
There was a pretty good dust-up on the House floor on Thursday.
I want all the cameras. We have cameras. Go ahead. God, watch this, okay?
There was a bill that was in play that would have weakened this state commission that decides where charter schools are going to be permitted. And the sponsor of this bill, State Representative Linda Chapalavia from Aurora, infuriated the Republicans and made a lot of Democrats uncomfortable with this comment she made. Listen to me, minorities. I'm over here because we're all over on this side, right?
Well, we have a half. We have a half.
It created a real racial undercurrent to this discussion yesterday, and she wound up apologizing for the comments.
Neil, what do you got?
Antoinette Chenier, a city worker who is being charged with embezzling money in her job at the Department of Transportation, $740,000. And it just, when you think about corruption and you see the almost childlike naivety she has when the bank, of course it wasn't the city that noticed the money missing, but Charter One. And so when the bank is saying, you know, you're taking this money from the city and putting it in your own bank account could be considered embezzlement, she said, oh, please don't use that word. Which just breaks your heart.
Sara Burnett.
Mine comes from Governor Pat Quinn, who was asked about Rahm Emanuel's plan to raise the property tax to address the city pension crisis this week, and told reporters that they were not going to go that way, and then added no can do, which total Pat Quinn-ism.
Right, completely. I'm going to build off of that one with Rahm Emanuel's response the next day. Reporters ask Emanuel, you know, did you talk to Quinn? Did you figure things out? And he says, I placed a call to him this morning. We missed each other.
Pat, this is Rahm. Please call me back. My number is 312.
All right, with that, thank you very much to my panel, and thank you for joining us. We will see you next week.
But here's my number.